Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Stop, Look, and Listen. I'm your host, LaTroy Gardner. This week, we have a prodigy on the show. She's a musician, a singer, a songwriter, a rapper, a poet, a writer, director, actress, and an entrepreneur. Did I miss anything?
No, that's good.
We have Kenya Crayton. Welcome to the show, Kenya.
Nice to see you, LaTroy.
Oh, nice to have you. So, I just, gave a mouthful of, um, everything that you're doing at the ripe old age of 19 years old. Give us a biographical snapshot into the creative world of Kenya.
Well, I first started writing a long time ago. Like, entertainment writing has always been a part of me. My dad is an entertainer, but yeah, he really instilled a lot of this in me, but a lot of it was innate. Like, when I was a really young kid, if I say about 4 years old, I always have to have paper. Always. My mother would always keep paper for me. I would be writing stories. I couldn't even write at the age I was talking about. Like, sometimes I was like 2 or 3 years old, I couldn't even write. But I had my mother write down the words I want to say. And so from there, it just kind of grew. I started writing, drawing, all these types of things. And a real pivot for me when I was around 12 years old. My father was like, you have a lot of good ideas. Instead of just going around the house just joking or making jokes, just kind of jostling around with the ideas, you should sit down and really try to make these ideas something tangible. And that's when it all clicked for me. And that's how I kind of got on the track I am now of actually putting together product in a tangible form for the whole world to, enjoy and be blessed by.
Wow. So which one is your go-to creatively? Is it writing books because you've written two and you have one on the way? Is it TV? Is it music? Which one is your go-to?
I would probably say if I had to choose just one thing, it would probably just be writing itself. Because
Okay.
I kind of think, I like to think of ways I could try to get everything in one. And if I chose writing, I could songwrite, I could still write books, I could still write shows and stuff. Even if I wasn't a part of the actual process of, I would say, acting in it or even singing the song, I could still express myself that way. I would keep writing if I could keep anything else.
Right. Yeah, that's something that Ice Cube once said. He was like, if I'm as a rapper, if I'm able to tell a story, why can't I tell a story? Write a movie, or why can't I, um, create in other avenues? Because it all has the same layout. It's just a matter of defining what the creative lane is for. So, yeah, I definitely see how one style of writing can lead to prosperity in other areas.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you mentioned your dad. I had Darcel on recently. We were just talking about his amazing story from Dallas to LA and um, having over 400 songs that is ready to come out, and just his journey as an independent artist. How does he inspire you?
He just always tells me to go for my dream. He's a self-starter, and he's always given me the latitude to be free and do what I love to do. I was homeschooled ever since I was a kid. Like, I've never been in public school. I've graduated now. I graduated last year. But him and my mom really made a decision for me to just go for whatever my passion was without any restrictions. And that's the biggest thing. Like, they haven't tried to manipulate the direction of my life. They've given me the courage, they've given me the confirmation, they've given me the space I needed to do exactly what I wanted to do as it pertained to my gifts and my talents and all of those things. That's the biggest thing he showed me. It's faith, his determination, his courage, his consistency, his relentlessness, his long suffering in a lot of ways has really inspired me to continue to push for my dreams with everything I have. And that's the biggest contribution, one of the biggest contributions he's made to my career.
Uh huh. How often do you two collaborate?
Not very much, but we collaborate in some ways. He's always there to help me. I'm always there to help him. So we bounce ideas off one another. Whether if he's writing a song or if I'm typing on a script or whatever, we always come together and kind of work things out where they're the best they can be. So it's really good to have each other as a sounding board in our careers. And that's one of the biggest ways I think we collaborate. Not so much at this point. I can't speak for the future because I hope to in the future do some cool stuff with him. I'm not gonna say,
Right.
but right now I say it's more of a of the underground roots. Like we work out the roots together, and that's one of the
Hmm.
biggest things. That's one of the biggest ways we collaborate currently.
Okay. So besides your parents, like who do you look to as far as a blueprint? Who you model your career after, in the way that they've um, navigated these spaces?
I would say this is gonna kind of sound off the beat. It may sound off the beat to some, but probably my one of my biggest inspirations is actually CC Winans. I know that sounds kind of different, but in terms of her ability to balance her family life and her career, her ability to keep her mission first, her ability to keep, in all honesty, her God-given vision first. I'm a Christian, she's a Christian. So, just her belief in God and continuing to pursue Jesus and everything she does. And really using her platform to the glory of God while keeping everything in balance, keeping everything in perspective. That's my biggest role model, I can say, probably outside my family.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. Um, with I guess with your prowess in writing, I know you had to have made A's throughout school, in English class in writing, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I enjoyed writing. It was just second nature. It's like an athlete in school. Like if they play a
Yeah.
sport, they're gonna probably like playing that sport because that's in them. So I like doing English. I didn't always like doing all the stuff like the bibliographies and stuff. That kind of got boring.
Hmm.
But those tools equip me for what I'm doing now. And yeah, so I really enjoyed that. We had tasks of writing essays, short stories, that whole bit. And I really tried to put my best foot forward. Really, no matter what the grade was, just give it my all every time. And that worked out for me because I was just trying to be myself. I was just being myself, and that's how it worked out.
Right. So like let's dig into the entrepreneurial side for a little bit. You started Unique Corn Productions
Yes, sir.
at such a young age. Um, Tell us about it. Just like some of the projects that you're working on, and um, the the process of getting it off the ground.
Well, it started a few years ago. Um, of course, my dad, his independent spirit and my independent spirit in terms of us having wanting to be able to paint the picture the way we want to, be able to control the narrative, be able to tell the stories, the positive, uplifting message that we want to tell. I kind of got into that, got inspired from him. But I just sensed it was time for me to make a pivot for my career, like my writing, and taking more charge of that. So I founded Unicorn Productions as a media company, a television and film company to produce and create television series and films that are uplifting, inspiring, family-friendly content. There's a big void in the family-friendly content sphere. Many people I talk to around are having a hard time finding television series like I Love Lucy, like Blackish, like the
Hmm.
Goldbergs or whatever, where everyone can sit down, a different world, those kind of shows where the whole family can sit down and watch them, unoffensive, you know, unoffensive content. So I created this company as really a solution to that, and that was one of the biggest voids I wanted to fill. Just recently, I've started the Unique Work. It's a family-friendly streaming platform dedicated to giving positive, uplifting content to everyone, to universal audiences everywhere. Just, I really wanted to solve the need of putting out clean, family-friendly content. So, currently, I'm working on my first sitcom. Um, it's a show kind of like something like That's So Raven, I Love Lucy, Casey Undercover, that kind of wholesome family vibe. Currently looking for sponsorships on that. Um, so I don't know if anybody's watching this that wants to get a part of that. You can email contact@uniquework.watch and get some information on how you can become a sponsor of the television series. We're trying to partner with brands who have family friendly products, family friendly values, where they can be seen in conjunction and collaborate with the streaming platform. So those are the two things I have going on right now, mainly the streaming platform and the family friendly sitcom that I'm now currently working on producing. Everything's getting in place, cast, crew, locations, the whole bit. We're looking to produce that. We're currently looking to secure sponsors for that television series.
Hmm. How do you balance all of that, the business side versus the creative versus, like, being the director and the casting, or or do you have a team that is helping you with all of that?
Well, mainly my family helps me out, but um, first of all, I'd like to say that as the Lord leads, I kind of do. Like, as the Holy
Uh-huh.
Spirit leads me, there are seasons in my life I feel like, that I go through writing stages. There are seasons that I feel like I go through more business stages. There are seasons in my life where I feel like, okay, I wrote that 2 years ago, we'll say. Now it's time for me to put that out. I just know inside of my spirit, now is the time. Now is the season for me to finally release that into the world. Um, beside the spiritual aspect, more from a practical standpoint, I like to organize my work. I have a whiteboard on my wall for what I'm supposed to do for the day. I keep notes. I write things down of this is the order of what it's going to take to release this book. First, I need to edit it, need to proofread it, need to get the ISBN number, need to upload all of my documents. And I have everything pretty much streamlined. I try to keep the organization of it before me. I try to keep the vision of it before me. I have a bunch of vision boards on my wall for what I ultimately see. So it's about the Lord telling me, and then as He gives me the plan, me walking according to the plan He's showing me in a very practical way, knowing that each small step leads to the big conglomerate, the big vision, the big dream I ultimately see. But it takes all of these small, measured, ordered steps to bring those things to pass. So it's easier to balance them, and of course, taking time to relax and rest. Like sometimes I just like sitting down, eating popcorn, and watching a football game.
Okay.
And there are times where, in my life, I know I need to, my family said this before, like just chill, relax, not work so much. So I'm working on that, like just relaxing a little bit more. Because, I can't do everything. I can't do everything all the time.
Right.
But as I'm learning to balance those things, it's really helping me to have a better grasp on things, come back fresh to things, and to execute what I know I'm being led to do.
Hmm. And would you define that as your writing process? Like, especially, with, 30 original shows and 65 movie concepts. Like, how do you like to complete one before moving on to the next? Or wherever your creative mind leads you, you like work on that until you've exhausted all of that real estate in your brain and then you move on to something else?
It's kind of sporadic for me. Like in the creative process, it's not too much like finishing one thing. Sometimes I just get a random idea and I write it down. Sometimes I feel like, well, I created that idea a few months ago. Let me go back and really hash that out better, develop the characters a little bit more, sit down and create the synopsis for the series or whatever it may be, a summary of what the series would be. Some of my character ideas are logged into my phone. It'll be like three phrases or one sentence to describe their personality. Like whenever I'm inspired, I just write whatever I'm inspired to write, and that's the biggest creative process I feel, just writing what's naturally flowing out of me. So I don't try to force it, and I don't necessarily put off one thing for another thing. Some things have priority, like if there's a deadline or something I want to release sooner than another, then I'll get on that before I work on something else. But most of the time, it's just ideas that are coming to me, are just flowing to me, and I hit them as I feel led to hit them. That's just how it goes. Even with my book series. Where are you located, Latroy?
I'm in South Florida.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm just gonna say this. Kudos to you guys. You guys are the best high school football. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
really,
Northwestern High
oh
School,
yeah,
and
that's the
yeah, it's
thing.
plenty. So
Yeah.
you're a huge high school football fan.
Oh yeah, I love football. I like high school football. My favorite pro team is the Seattle Seahawks. I like watching college football. I was happy when Ohio State won this year. That was super super crazy. But
Yeah.
my book series is actually called The Gridiron Gang. It's about football, high school football. So I've been able to sell copies of that story, and the creative process for that with me was just actually me telling my brother a story. He likes me to tell stories to him, just randomly come up with something. So one day I was just watching some like football videos. Me and my brother started just riffing and ranting and getting into it. And that's actually how the characters for this book started, this series started.
Yeah.
So, it just came at a random moment. It came just in a moment, me and my brother chilling. But those, I believe, are the most special moments when things come organically. I created this series, The Gridiron Gang, because I really wanted to just show some positive, uplifting content. It's about three African American boys, in the football world, navigating the woos and woes of their wacky home lives while pursuing their football careers. And each story has different plot lines and plot twists. But I really want to show black boys in a positive light. I believe that African American boys just don't have enough literature that represents them in a positive manner, especially in the younger ages. But this story per se is not just limited to African American boys. It's a very universal storyline. The characters are very relatable, and I say anyone who wants to read it can read it. No, clean content, family-friendly values. So there have been Caucasians that have bought it, Asians that have bought it, African Americans that have bought it, older people who have bought it, younger people that have bought it. It's been teenagers that's bought the book. It's been the elderly that's bought the book. It's really just about those wholesome values uniting us, and for us being able to see that we're not as different as that we appear to be, that we're all going through the same things. And so I believe this story reaches a high school audience, the college audience, the children audience, the adult audience. It's just a story to have fun and just encourage people to go for their dream. The series is just about going for your dream, showing values such as honesty, teamwork, courage, centered around three black African American boys. And I really felt that was necessary to show that.
Okay, great. And you do have the third installment coming out soon, right?
Yes. The third installment is coming out this fall. I'm just going to pretty much complete the trilogy for now. I'll see if anything else comes up. But my brother's been like, oh my gosh, you should get some more. We need more of this. And I'm like, I don't know. Whatever inspires me, I'm going to do it. But I feel like this is kind of going to wrap it up.
Okay. Yeah, I love the way that you approach writing as far as not forcing it. So, do you have any other plans, other books, like going in a different direction, but still staying within that family friendly, theme
As a matter
that
of fact,
you're mastering?
yes, I do. I have a few more that I'm looking to put out. Some geared towards young girls, teenage girls, but really storylines for everyone. So all the characters are not just in this world. There are many other worlds. I have a story coming out geared towards teens girls pretty soon. I also have another one on deck that's more of a family-friendly fantasy story. It's about like a princess and that kind of world, so stuff like that. I have different aspects and angles. Some stuff is more fictional, more realistic. Some stuff is more fantasy, science fiction kind of things. But all of it brings us back down to the same family-friendly, clean, positive, uplifting messages and values.
Okay, good. Who do you, where do you go as far as creative inspiration? Like, do you have friends that you can just be around and talk to? Do you use social media? Do you watch other content? Like, how do you get inspired creatively?
To be honest, it's just being. I don't really have friends like that. I'm just gonna keep that 100.
Uh huh.
Yeah, it's just like that. But not having that is really giving me the space to be creative. But really, what inspires me is just like everyday life. For instance, like just seeing people, like the way a person looks, the way they dress, the way they talk, their mannerisms. And it's easy to create characters and create storylines when I can draw from all of the info that I'm taking from the outside world. What really inspires me just getting, I could be at a basketball game or something, my brother plays basketball, I could just see, man, that guy over there has really interesting loud blue hair.
Hmm.
you know? And things like those little details of people, dialects, accents, the way people phrase things, the human experience, those things are the things that inspire me most. And just seeing the nuances of all of us, how we're all different in things, those are the things that fuel my character development, fuel my worlds that I'm creating through these projects. It's really just about me going outside or not even outside, just being around like, man, the way my dad said that was hilarious. Or it'd be a phrase or a joke or something that we came up with, or me and my brother just conversing and kicking it. I'm like, that could be good for actual series. Like, there may be a series about a guy who rides a red scooter on the moon. you know? These type of things, it's just about me just enjoying life, and the way I really receive content is just enjoying life and taking in the sights and sounds of the human experience.
Hmm. So like out of everything you do, I don't see actress. No, I do see actress. You are an actress. So like being in front of the camera, like how do you adapt from being behind writing the stories to being in front of the camera? Like how do you differ from from those two aspects of producing content?
I think I just like to bring myself to the role, if I can say it that way, like put my energy into it. But when I write these things, sometimes I can, because I feel like since I wrote how they're supposed to be, how the character's supposed to be, I can infuse what I need to infuse into that character. I really
Uh-huh.
do. Like, I know how they're supposed to behave. I know what their personality is like. I know how they dress. I know how they sound. And so I know what accent they have. I know how they would say something. I know their backstory. So it's easy for me to add intricate little details and intricate little nuances to those characters and really bring them to life, whether if they're more introverted, whether if they're super extroverted, whether if they're more silly, whether they're more refined.
Hmm.
um, Me creating these products and creating these characters has really given me the latitude to try different things, to try a different way. Well, let me try that in a British accent. Well, let me try it with, let me see, let me imagine it with the character having short hair. Okay, let me imagine with the character having long hair. Okay, there's a hole in this character. It feels like, she doesn't have as much character development as I would like. Well, let me add something in her backstory that gives her more pain or more joy or more of a reason why. The biggest
Okay.
thing to these characters is a reason why. I feel like sometimes characters fall flat when the development isn't there, and there hasn't been enough time taken to curate their reason why. Is she just angry because she's angry? Or is she angry because her father left her? Is she angry because her mother wasn't kind to her? Is she angry because her best friend was in high school turned against her to go be best friends with her enemy? Like these type of things, or even in their joy, are they joyous because their family is just a really jovial family? Are they joyous because they didn't think they would be in this situation? They're just so excited to finally be accepted into college, or finally be accepted somewhere, or finally do something new. So the best character acting comes from, of course, my own, dare I say, personality, bringing myself to the character, but also infusing that character with nice roots. So when that character blossoms and blooms, there are actually deep enough roots for that character to be endearing, for that character to be respectable, and for that character to be understood.
Hmm. So you're gonna are you gonna be like Tyler Perry or Eddie Murphy and play all of the parts yourself?
Um, Not in everything. I have ideas, but I think I'm just gonna sprinkle myself in, some things, or things like that. Like I like doing those things, but I also like giving opportunity. So definitely don't want to eat up opportunity. There are some movies and stuff I've created or shows I created. Like I'm definitely not gonna be in that. I'm gonna give that to someone else. Like I don't have to be in everything, and I want to make sure that I provide opportunity for others that are seeking to inspire the world as well.
Hmm. So you're a rapper as well. Like
Yes.
who do you pattern yourself after? Like who's your Mount Rushmore of MCs?
I don't know about Mount Rushmore. I know I don't listen to secular rap. I actually like the
Yeah.
Christian hip hop world.
Okay.
I kind of got into Christian hip hop. I say when I was about like 12 or 11 years old, because my mother was like, "Okay, well if you guys want to listen to rap, okay, we're not gonna be any of that other stuff. Here you go with this." So I kind of got into the Truth and Canton Jones, but even now it's like Lecrae, KB. Those are the guys like Tripley, Bizzle. Those are some
Hmm.
Christian rappers I like and stuff like that. And so they really inspired me to put a clean, uplifting message out there. So I actually released my own rap record that right now is on YouTube. It's called Rock With You. It's under my rap alias Unicorn. That's my little rap name.
Okay.
So yeah, it's available right now, streaming and all those things. So I would say that I really got inspiration. It's so many other clean cut rap artists out there that I love to listen to. The list could go on and on and on, and that's really the kind of rap I like to listen to. But it's really evolved. I know some people back in the day it used to be just the choir singing in the back with a little and it kind of
The
it turned everybody
tambourine.
off. But nowadays it's not like that. I've heard some I mean, everything from reggaeton to drill rap to any facet of hip hop that you could think of is literally in the Christian rap world.
Hmm.
Literally. Every style, every genre, every syncopation, the same beats, same 808s, clean mixes, clean mastering, sound quality is perfection. It's like that now. I can think of many artists that I can think about right now, even someone like, who am I thinking about? It's just a lot. You have to look it up. I mean, literally the same sounds of, dare I say, the secular world have now, the mainstream world have now bled into the Christian world. It's a more
Hmm.
uplifting and positive message, but the same hard hitting beats, the same delivery, those type of aspects have not been lost. So I could say now, as of 2025, the Christian rap world has definitely come into alignment, or has definitely been positively influenced, or definitely been steered into a more modern, fresh, hip, lit, turned up direction. So I like that.
Yeah, and it's necessary in order to meet people where they are. Where they are.
Hmm. Yes.
So yeah, I definitely I still listen to a lot of the gospel music that my parents would have us listening to on our way to church and on road trips, but I still get into some of the modern contemporary, like you said, infusion of, secular music with the message as well.
Yeah.
Um, so Kenya, tell me something that people would find most surprising about you.
Oh, back in 2022, I won a flag football championship. I guess that's the one thing that's surprising. I don't know, but it was kind of crazy. It was kind of cool. There were two other girls on the team, but they had had to play soccer or something, so they weren't able to come. So I was literally the only girl out there. We went undefeated.
Uh-huh.
Once I got defensive player of the week for 1 week. Kudos to my team, man. Like, they were legit. Like, my quarterback is legit. I had 8 sacks in 7 games, and I also had recorded 2 safeties because I really liked the game. It was just a way for me to have fun, and I'm not serious about it, like serious. I mean, you know, I don't know how serious I'll get about it because I do this, but it was fun for me to experience that. That's one thing that I did. I'm not athletic, so that's why it's surprising. Not athletic really at all. My brother's the athletic one. He'll tell
Hmm.
he's the man. I'm no, not that, but I had enough will and determination to get it done, so it was fun.
Dr. Todd McLean provides periodontal and dental implant services in 2 convenient locations. They offer over a decade of experience treating patients, and appointments can even be scheduled in the evenings, weekends, or early mornings. Give them a call in Chapel Hill at 919-537-9774 or in Durham at 919-484-8338, or visit them online at gumsandimplants.org.
Yeah, I mean, but the sport is growing. Isn't there like a professional flag football league? I know there's one of those, and I think it's supposed to come to the Olympics in
Yeah.
LA in 2028. So I mean, it's growing. One of my favorite events at the 2024 Olympics was women's rugby, and it's kind of similar as well. So yeah, keep that gridiron gang mentality going. All
Yeah. Oh man, yeah.
right, so like what do you see when you look in the mirror?
What do I see when I look in the mirror? That's a big question. I just see somebody just who's got room for improvement, who's got room to grow, but who's trying to grow every single day. I'm not a finished product, because no one is, and no one will ever be, and I'll never be. But at the same time, I see someone who's continuing to reach for God, who's continuing to um, try to find just his way and what he wants me to do, and someone who's really trying to leave this world better than the way I found it. That goes for my own family, that goes for the world at large. Just want to make an impact. And that's what I see when I look in the mirror. Someone who's definitely not perfect, but someone who's trying every single day. That's consciously even thinking about these things, because the biggest work I can do and anyone in this world can do is self work. But this self work is coming for me. I don't know what the viewers or anyone listening to this believes in, but for me, it's in Jesus Christ. And the biggest thing for me, I've been through things in my life where I wasn't as happy as I am now. I wasn't as joyful as I am now. There have been seasons in my life where things were sorrowful. I was not the same person I am today. I was not as joyful. I was not as happy. I was not as pointed. I was not as organized, and I wasn't happy with myself. And I didn't love myself. And I knew that God was there, but I didn't see myself correctly. But as I continued to get in deeper into His Word, the Word of God, the Bible, and just study that out, I really just began to see myself differently. And this has been a process for several years now of just me finding out who He is and who I am in Him. Beyond the vision boards, beyond the writing, the biggest things I've done is actually sat down and pray and sat down and write down what God has said about me. And I have those things on my wall alongside my corporate vision. What has He said? And not just necessarily the general scriptures and things like that, but specifically, what am I called to do in this earth? How am I called to affect the entertainment industry? One of the biggest things I want to do in this world is tell people who God is and tell people who they are in Him. That's my pure calling. And I only got that revelation from spending time with God and really sitting down and asking Him, not just, we're all believers are called to minister the gospel, to preach the good news, but how does that work specifically? And for me, He's told me it's about showing them who He is and showing them who they are in Him. And as He continues to show me who He is, that's where the real joy, the real peace, the real relief has come from. And it's come from spending time with Him, really seeking His voice, and taking time to remember what He said to me. I write down what God has said to me. I put those things on my wall. I put those things ever before me. I have those notes in my phone. It doesn't really matter the method or the medium. It could be on paper, it could be on my digital. But at the same time, keeping those things He said, those are, to me, even more valuable than keeping down character notes or keeping down a script. Or those ideas are valuable. But the most valuable thing any person and any believer can do in this world is knowing who God is and who they are. Because the Word tells me, that if you don't conform to this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. So when I decide to renew my mind, was renewing my mind, believing God is who He says He is, and I am who He says I am, confessing those things, really getting those things in my heart, changing the way I think by changing the way I speak. And when I get those things involved, because the Word tells us, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Well, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And the Word also says, we have faith. Faith comes by hearing. So what I speak gets into my mind, gets into my heart, gets into my actions. But when I decide to start speaking differently, I'm a child of God. I'm loved by God. God is all good. When I start to speak those things to my life, my heart changes, my life changes. And not only that, as we're renewed by our mind, we learn to know what God's will for us, which is good and pleasing and perfect. And it shows us that there are two things that are happening here. When we know who God is and who we are, then we know what we're called to do. Though the realization of who God is and who we are actually opens the door for our purpose. There are many people out here, I don't know my purpose. I don't know what I'm called to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know who I am. I'm lost. The way to find out who God's will for our life, not just our own will, His will for our life. It's about knowing who He is, knowing who we are, and He will show us those things. I can think about in Matthew 16 where Jesus was speaking to Peter, and He was like, Peter, it was like, who do men say that I am? And like, thou art the Christ. And Jesus said to him, blessed art thou, Simon, son of Jonah, the whole thing, for, flesh and blood didn't reveal this to you, my Father who is in heaven. And then He said, your name is Peter, and Peter means rock, and upon this rock I'll build my church. That shows us the order right there. Oh gosh. When Peter looked at Jesus, who is God, when Peter acknowledged who God was, Jesus turned around and He told Peter his identity and what he was called to do. You're Peter, you're called to build my church. But that came from Peter first acknowledging who God was. And that comes through salvation, first of all, being saved, and then also inquiring subsequently, renewing our mind, because we can be saved, but it takes us renewing our mind. That's the biggest thing after we're saved. And so Him acknowledging who God was actually opened up the floodgate for Him realizing His identity and what He was called to do. So when I see myself, I know that that's my biggest calling and biggest mantle in my life, and everything I'm doing now, even with the Gridiron Gang, even with the sitcom, even with hip hop, it's using mechanisms to trying to get the message out of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and also that God is who he says he is, and you are who he says you are. And that's really it.
Okay. I mean, wow. Like 19 years old?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Wise well beyond your years. Do you feel like you found your calling then? I know you talked about it extensively just now, but do you think creating TV shows and music and writing books, is that the calling?
I feel like it's a way for me to express the calling.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the calling is what I just mentioned, but these are the vehicles God is choosing to use now for me to get that message out. The message is really the calling. What
Mm-hmm.
I'm called to say is truly the calling. Yeah, I could get the calling out through a cooking show. I can get the calling out through a book. I can get the calling out through a speaking engagement. I can quit everything and go be a construction worker if that's what he wanted me to do and build
Right.
houses to the glory of God, but still having the same message in my heart through my lifestyle and my lips. So I believe that sometimes we have it twisted. Our vocation, our current vocation is not our calling. It isn't the core of who we are. The message we're called to exude through any vocation, that's really the calling. Because we go through seasons. We'll be a student one season. We may be a teacher the next season. We may work for someone else. We may be an entrepreneur next season. We may have our kids living in our house and our kids may move out. Was our parent really being our calling? It was a part of how God chose to get the message he wanted into the earth, but it wasn't the end all be all. So I think our identity and our vocation are not synonymous. Whenever I write down things about who I am or what God has called me to do, I always try to keep my vocation out of it. Because my
Mm-hmm.
vocation may change, but the message remains the same. We look at Paul. He was a messenger unto the Gentiles. Even if he was in jail writing letters, when he was writing letters or standing up preaching, the form didn't matter. The message remained the same. Even Jesus to this day. He's my Lord. He's my Savior. And at the end of the day, even though he's not currently on this earth, his message, his job of being Messiah, the King, the Lord, it hasn't changed. His identity, his core never changed, even though the method of him getting it out did. So that's really what I see. I believe that when we're able to separate who we are and what our true calling is, the true message God has placed in our heart and in our mouth from what we do, it's easier for us not to idolize what we do or get stuck or feel bad when we're not doing things the way we used to. So that's really the biggest thing I see about that.
Okay. Do you learn more from your wins or your losses?
To learn more from my wins or my losses. I learn from both of them, but I would say sometimes my losses help me, sometimes a little bit more, but it's never really a loss. It's only really a lesson. I don't want to sound colloquial when I say that, but even when I mess up, I know how I can get better. And these mess ups aren't necessarily just a physical thing, like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. I should have taken the trash out before I watch TV or something, or whatever the thing may be.
Mm-hmm.
It may be an internal thing. Maybe the messing up was me having a negative mindset. Maybe the mess up was me believing less of myself when I should have believed more than myself in that moment. I believe maybe the mess up was me not believing I am who God says I am. Maybe the mess up was me being proud. Maybe the mess up was something no one can see. We all often have the tendency to think of big things. Like, oh, I really messed up this time. That was a big one. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's the little things that are the biggest things. I have had the tendency sometimes to just attack the fruit of my behavior and not the root of my behavior. I write those things down now too. When
Mm-hmm.
I realize I'm doing something that isn't right, sometimes I say, okay, Kenya, why are you doing the thing? Not I'm just doing the thing. Okay, let's break it down. You're doing XYZ because you want people to care about you. You're doing XYZ because you're insecure because of something that happened when you were in homeschool. You're doing XYZ because your dad, your granddad, your mom, or whoever modeled that for you, or that was passed down to you because of their behavior. And it's really about breaking those things down. The word talks about how sometimes it's better to to crying cleanses the soul in some way. Like crying actually cleanses you, and how it says that in the book of Ecclesiastes. It also talks about how it's better to attend funerals than parties. And for me, that means beginning with the end in mind. I was reading the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and one of the points that he infers or expounds upon is beginning with the end in mind. When we live short-sightedly and temporally and not eternally, we often have the room to be less grateful, less thankful, consumed with ourselves when everything's about the now and not about what we can do to impact the future, impact our own lives' future, impact our children, impact hundreds of years from now. We think about great people. They make changes that last a lifetime and beyond. We see some people, their name isn't even spoken hardly anymore because they have not made an impact that was greater than them. Okay, sure, you made the record. Sure, you got the most receiving yards in this school. Or sure, you did that. Or this, that, and the other. Or sure, you created a big conglomerate. Or sure, you had a family. But the life-changing kingdom, and the kingdom I'm speaking on is the kingdom of God. The impact for the kingdom of God was not there. We think about Jesus in our belief system, my belief system in Christianity. He has been gone for 2,000 years. We still talk about him. Unbelievers still talk about him. We look at people. I was thinking about John Bunyan, who wrote the Pilgrim's Progress. He wrote that 400 years ago in a jail cell. It's the second highest sold book underneath the Bible in the world. And he wrote it in a jail cell 400 years ago. Why? Because he was focused on what God had called him to do, and he was doing something bigger than himself. And I believe that the biggest thing we can do is focus on something, focus on what God has called us to do, because true lasting, it doesn't come with us hoarding up temporal things. It doesn't come from me hoarding up accolades and attention or what people think or the opinion of man at all costs. It comes at me submitting to him, and he will make my name great. He will make my fame spread as I am continuing to make his fame spread. And that's one of the biggest things that I've learned, and that has helped me to deal with the losses, because at the end of the day, a little light is going off, but oh well.
That's okay.
At the end of the day, it's about me focusing on just how I can grow from these things and how I can change to line up with who he says I am. Oh man, even when I do things that aren't good, it doesn't make me not good, because he's already covered that through the blood of his son, Jesus Christ. My biggest thing is now starting to believe that, because when I believe that, I live that out. And so that's the biggest thing for me now, is knowing that the wins have their place, and the wins are sometimes just as valuable. We can learn great things from wins, but at the same time, I believe they're of equal weight. And I believe that sometimes even the lowest moments, they achieve the greatest victory. Through persecution or things I go through, they can help me achieve the greatest victory. Even looking at Jesus, when he died on the cross, beaten, bloody, all the things he went through, spat on, people being mistreating him, calling him all sorts of names, lying on him, betraying him, his own family betraying him, his own friends leaving him desolate. We look at that, the greatest loss, oh my gosh, it caused the greatest victory. Without him dying and rising again, we would have never gotten salvation. So it was actually his greatest perceived loss that really wasn't a loss at all, that was actually a part of his destiny that bred the greatest victory known to man. So it's important to stay, I believe for myself, to stay in those moments of persecution sometimes. Because if I'm being persecuted for the right reasons, I have to go through those things and endure those things as a good soldier. The word talks about how in the book of, I want to say 1 Peter, it talks about how it's better to suffer for doing right than to suffer for doing wrong. Persecution and punishment are not the same thing. Punishment is something I get for doing bad, but persecution could be a result of me going against the current and doing what God has called me to do. And those are the two delineations. Like when Jesus was on the cross, there were people that were saying, if you be the Son of God, get off the cross. They wanted him to prove his identity to them, that he was the Son of God, by actually going against his identity for them. But it's about staying in that moment of persecution. It's about being willing to take whatever I have to for God, for the sake of God, and for what he's called me to do, and come out on the other side knowing that I've already got the victory, because Jesus knew that was his calling. The persecution was his calling. Him dying and rising again was his calling. We are called to be the same way. I am called to be the same way. So when I look at Jesus, I see him dying, and I really see his death and his burial as a representation for me now, through him being dead to sin and raised alive in him. His period of being on the earth, because after he rose again, he was on the earth for 40 days, just proving himself alive. He's called me to do the same thing. Not only have I been saved through salvation, now I'm dead to my old self, I am called to renew my mind. I am called to prove to this world through my behavior, through my lifestyle, through my choices, through the way I behave, the way I speak, that I am truly alive, that Jesus truly is real. And then I am called to ascend. I am called to ascend just like Jesus on this earth into my rightful position of the fullness of his calling for my life. That comes through the persecution. That ascension comes through that, because we are called to, the word talks about how I've seen servants riding on the donkey and the kings walking beside them. This is a great evil. So those who are not dedicated to God, that are in a position of power, that is not how it's supposed to be. This wonky setup for us taking dominion, he wants us to take dominion, and anything other than that is evil. That's the Bible calls it evil, for it to be out of balance, where the people of God are on the bottom and those who are not on God's mission to be on the top. And that is up to us to take dominion in those ways. So we think about the cross, it was on top of a hill. So even the persecution Jesus experienced, that was a form of ascension. It was on a high place. The low place was really the high place. So ascending is going to take persecution. Ascending is going to take me going through things I didn't want to go through. But the ascension is going to be totally worth it, because the word says in Ephesians 2:6 that we're seated in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. We already are. All believers through Christ right now are already seated. You know what that means? We have the same reign, the same ability to conquer, the same dominion he has right now on this earth. And it's up for us to bring heaven down on earth. So the wins and the losses right there, that's my long-winded, albeit, expression of how I believe that the wins and the losses both add to God's greatest glory. And the wins and the losses, they are all a part of God's plan for my life. So I've grown to know that no matter what I'm going through, they all amount to what God has for me if they're in his will.
Mm-hmm. All right, so what's next for you, Kenya? And then tell us where we can find you.
Okay. First of all, what's next for me would probably be, of course, my third installment of the book coming out, working on some other projects, getting this sitcom afloat. Like I said, they're locking in these sponsors for that and getting those things rolling. And really, that's really what I've got going next. Just continue to put out product, continue to seek God, continue to put out the product he's called me to put out. And that's pretty much it. So you guys can go on Instagram. You can find me at It's Kenya for Real, at It's Kenya, FORREAL. It's Kenya for Real. You guys can find me on there. I'm also on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, the same handle on everything. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. And that's pretty much what I got.
Okay, great. It's Kenya for Real.
Yes.
Unicorn Productions.
Yes.
Kenya Crayton,
Mm-hmm.
Prodigy, Woman of God. Just delivering content that is good for your soul. I applaud you, sister.
Thank you so much.
I applaud you. I encourage you to continue down this path. Continue to put God first in all you do, and continue to listen to your parents and do it independently, and own that IP. And like, it's nothing but amazing things in your near future, in your present, and down the road even. Like I'm just in awe and encouraged by what you bring to the table, and just what will be coming down the pike from you. So get the book, third installment this fall, Gridiron Gang, and I'll keep my eyes and ears open to what's next beyond that.
Yeah, the books are available on Amazon, so that's not a hassle. Thank you so much for having me, LaTroy, and giving me the opportunity to share my story on your platform. I'm so happy to be able to be a part of this. I'm really grateful for what you do, what you're doing. You're doing an excellent job highlighting voices out here that are trying to make an impact, trying to make a difference, giving people like me an opportunity to share our story. Thank you for giving this platform to us. It's really valuable. It's really needed. I'm very grateful to you, and I'm sure everyone else is, but I'm speaking for me. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and thank you for continuing to highlight voices that are trying to make a positive impact for our community, the Black community, and the world. Thank you so much.
Anytime you're welcome back. Whenever the book drops in the fall, come on back. We can talk about it. That's what Stop Looking Listen is all about. Just providing that platform and uplifting our community in the best way possible. So for Stop Looking Listen, I'm your host, LaTroy Gardner. See you next week. Peace and blessings.